Fantastic tones for human bones.
Welcome to Fantastic Tones for Human Bones. I am one of your two hosts, Robert Woodsledew. My other hosts, you're my host, Mark Piscucci Clifford.
Hello.
On the mic. Today we have three guests. Richard Haig.
Hello.
Hey.
Yes, Devin Smith and Amy Smith.
Hello.
Yes.
Thanks everyone so much for being here. First podcast of the year. We're here to talk about the best of 2021. Everything good that happened, everything bad that happened.
So the one topic we have tonight, the new Limp Bizkit.
Yeah.
Isn't limp enough.
So when did that come out?
I think that came out 3 or 4 months ago or something like that. The critical response is that Limp Bizkit had become self-aware and decided to make a Limp Bizkit album.
Like Skynet?
Yeah.
Are you saying they're a living organism?
It was the kind of thing that I expected to find a lot of bad reviews of, but the reviews were almost exclusively positive.
Really?
I hadn't heard it, but
Yeah, Brooklyn Vegan gave them a glowing review. I think I'm going to start approaching pop albums like I approach video game journalism. I just read the reviews but don't actually play the games. So I'm just going to read I think I read some Adele 30 reviews but never listened to the album, and I'm okay with that. I think I got what I needed to get from reading the Adele 30 reviews.
fair enough.
Yeah. A good review can tell you a lot.
Yeah, I mean, this is a funny episode for me because, I mean, as I've alluded to in past episodes, really taking on records and really listening to them takes time for me. And I'm, on the list here, there is one that I've that I recommended that I deeply love. So I'm excited about that. But I generally, over the course of a year, am not such a voracious listener that I can just whip out, you need to hear this, you need to hear this, you need to hear this. So I'm excited that we have so many guests that can help me swim through this. And yet again, my listening homework is about to just skyrocket. Which is good.
Well, let me say one thing on a serious note about the real reason why for this podcast, for me, I often feel like in years past, I put together a list of bests of 2021 best music of the year list, basically, of stuff that I enjoyed that I found not to be on any of the lists that I saw.
Mhm.
So that's the reason basically for this. But I thought there seemed to be more lists in general this year. BandCamp had a crap load of lists just alone.
Well,
I couldn't.
Just speaking of the quantity, I do think it makes sense for Devin and I to both be on here as one podcast, because our previous two solo podcasts were basically the same episode twice in a row.
I don't know about all that.
We've coordinated our best of lists to make sure that they match one for one, and then we'll just say the same thing for each album.
Good.
Awesome.
Yeah, and what you guys added to this doc, we have a shared doc. There's some great stuff on here. Amy, you added the Marfa tapes, which is
Oh yeah, did you listen to that?
it's got such a vibe to it. I love it.
Yeah.
Would you describe that as a country album? I don't really even know what that is.
I would say it's a country album. I was
These
thinking
artists.
I was thinking a lot about this because I also just started listening to the most recent Brandi Carlile album, and that's
Oh,
very
yeah.
different. And I would consider them both country albums, but they're both so different. So then I started to wonder, what is a country album? But I think they are both country albums.
Yeah, I thought that as well when I checked out Brandi Carlile as well. Yeah, a good the Marfa tapes though, it sounds like it's recorded just with a Zoom recorder.
I think the story is that Miranda Lambert and her friends got together and just had some drinks and recorded some songs. And I think that's kind of how it happened.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's super sweet.
Yeah.
The thing that I love about that album is that something that you don't hear a lot is people who are just have like excellent chops, just sort of like hitting record and going when they ordinarily operate in like a studio setting. So there's like all this stuff on that album that if it were handled like more ordinarily, they would have like redone like takes of everything until, you know, they had sort of like ironed everything out. But the quality of the musicianship is so good that it was clear that they just like wrote out a chart and figured out sort of where to punch it up, ran it a couple of times. And then by the end of that process, they're like, okay, this is good enough that we could just do like 3 takes together as a band and call it a day.
Yeah. From my experience, like with my friends in Denver and in New York who have been more on the bluegrass circuit, I feel like the general musicianship is, and the jam culture, I'm sure it's this way with country as well, is insane. Like just people's ability to hear their way through things, blend together, play together, sing together, really tight harmonies, just intuitively.
The singing in country music is very serious. Serious business.
Yeah, so I wonder if that, because a lot of times those, I've been around a lot of those, just jam sessions, and they're not recorded, but like they're constant displays of super high musicianship. I'm thinking specifically about my friend Lucy Moore and her parents, Molly O'Brien and Rich Moore. And
I know Lucy.
Yeah, totally. And her uncle Tim O'Brien, who's like a Grammy guy.
Wait, Lucy Moore's uncle is Tim O'Brien?
Yeah.
Whoa.
So there's like this whole, when I just go hang out at their house, there's like just ridiculous musicianship all over the place. And but they're just kind of hanging out and playing too, So to be able to catch something like that, just throw on a Zoom, I wonder if that was sort of how that went down, But I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you know, Amy, if Miranda Lambert is from, was it Nashville?
I don't know.
Yeah, the only reason I ask is just talking about that kind of country music, like quality of musicianship. I feel like there, in order to get through the front door, you basically have to be fantastic. Otherwise,
yeah.
Yeah,
She's from Texas.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, Marfa is a place in Texas. Okay, this makes sense. Okay,
Home of the Marfa-lites. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is going to be a theme, I think, with the albums that I added, is that I don't know a ton always about the people behind them. Because what I've been doing and how I've been listening to music this year is I do a yoga practice every morning. And I usually do it in silence. But this year I just started putting on a new album almost every time I practice. So it's like every morning I have an hour and I just look at what came out. And I practice, and sometimes I'll do that multiple times with the same album, and then that ends up on my favorite list. But I don't always do all the research to find out who the musicians are. I just kind of enjoy it while I'm doing my thing.
How are you finding these albums?
Yeah, that was yes.
This is really, I feel like this is kind of silly, and I'm afraid to admit it, but
It's never going to be a silly thing.
I go to Metacritic, and you can sort their albums by date. And I just look at, I peruse by date, and I look for things that might have a rating that, doesn't look terrible and is something that I haven't heard of before. And sometimes I'll peruse through the reviews. And if it looks interesting, then I'll listen to it.
I, first of all, didn't know that Metacritic even had reviews of music.
Well, they
sort
of compile all the reviews that are out there, and then it gives you a score based on all the reviews, and then you can sort them by date and just look at like whatever is the most recent or however you want to sort it.
Oh, so it's not even. I see. I don't think I understood what Metacritic was, but it makes sense. It's right in the name, Metacritic.
I'm glad to see that A Love Supreme Live in Seattle is way up there, number 5. That's good. In Metacritic. I'm happy to see that.
Yeah.
I'll just say that.
I'm sure I miss a lot of things that
It just
way.
means that people...
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, to me, that gives me faith, you know. If that's number 5, then something's going okay. But go on. That's... All right.
The other thing...
So these ones that you added to the list are like your top favorites of all stuff that you've practiced yoga to this year?
Yep, basically. And the thing I like about it is it aggregates reviews from all around the world. So I oftentimes end up with a lot of stuff that wouldn't even hit my radar here in the US. So you have things like Lauren Vula, who's British, and
That's a dope album.
Oh yeah.
who else? Oh, Balake Sissoko. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but I think he's from Western Africa somewhere. Plays an instrument I had never even seen before. And so things like that just pop onto my radar, and it's really nice to have that focused time to listen through something.
Yeah. And do all of these work well with yoga, or do you find them to be any of these to be a little distracting?
I think the ones I've added probably work well because I've listened to them multiple times, but they definitely change the mood of my practice, and I practice the same set of things every day, so it sort of changes the vibe of whatever I'm doing.
Oh, right on.
How long is your routine, if I can ask?
It's about an hour.
Oh, perfect. So you can probably rock a full record, usually.
Good time for, yeah. And then by the end, it's silent, so I can sort of reflect on it a little bit.
Nice.
And you listen to on YouTube Music, or what do you listen to it on?
Mostly YouTube music. It's the easiest way to find, especially new releases for me.
Yeah. Well, for bigger stuff, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Is that... I don't know if I know about that. YouTube Music. Okay. That's where the Martha tapes are.
Yeah.
Huh.
So I'll say what I think is kind of interesting is the way that you are listening. It's a kind of purpose-driven listening, and that's also how a lot of my listening tends to be. Actually, there's so much music out there. You know, we all have our ways of kind of filtering out what we're gonna listen to or be interested in, and it's funny. I noticed that I'm very self-conscious of the fact that a lot of my listening is almost transactional. I don't know if that's the right word. It's driven towards sort of DJing. So I'm thinking about it as fitting that purpose.
Yeah.
So in the way that, you know, most of your listening is for the setting of yoga, I'm also doing it for a physical activity, just one that's starts or that starts just a few hours before yours does.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah.
Yeah, you sent a list just moments ago that I recognized almost nothing on except for the Rosa album.
Yeah. So I put together last minute. I didn't prepare for this. My apologies, but I realized last minute that there's the there's this website buymusic.club that isn't by BandCamp, but it's another. It's a website that allows you to make playlists of BandCamp releases. So I just went through my purchase history for the last year on BandCamp and just put together like of the stuff I've purchased, what's my favorite? And yeah, that first one, that Luis, I need to get it in front of my face. Luis Pestana, Rosa Pano. So that actually came out November 2020. So that's close enough. It's the end of the year. It's basically, you know, it was my first purchase of last year, and it's stunning. I I even reached out to the composer to try to get to just find out about it, because it's all over the place. It's electronic, it's choral, it's um, classical, it's folk, it's all sorts of things. And I reached out to him, and he has kind of broken English. And I was trying to find out more about it, but from what I could glean, he doesn't have any formal music education. He's just this dude who just somehow put this album together. And honestly, it's, for me, it was the best thing I heard all last year. And I think I listened to it more times than anything else. And it just happened to be the first one I bought in like January 4th or something last year. But yeah, so much of my listening otherwise is kind of like purpose driven, that it makes me wonder other ways of listening as well, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, Bob, listening is part of your job.
I do a lot. I have to do a lot of listening for a lot of different reasons. That's like mandatory.
Yeah, but you also
Not only for this podcast, but
right. So a lot of the listening that I've done outside of what I normally would listen to has come from both our, preparing for interviews, and then for our recommendations. Like, especially after the recommendations episodes, like listening to what people have been recommending, and then I'll get like stuck on some of those, But I'm just curious if you have any devices like that for both you and Devin as well. Like Bob, I know that you run the kid around sometimes. Is that a time when you're taking on new music, or how are you exploring?
Yeah, I mean, I do listen a lot, like well, for sure whenever I'm driving somewhere I'm listening to stuff, but like in the house, like in the morning, we'll get up pretty early. We get up, super early. What
time are you allowed to put on death metal? What's the when is that allowed?
I mean, I just do it right away, like
rise and grind.
Yeah,
fair enough.
No, I think I mean, I think there's no drum playing until like 9 or 10, but in terms of playing music, so it's all fair game. But yeah, I listen to a lot of different stuff. Like I'm sifting through much more even than our podcast forces us to listen to, because we have to listen to so much for just this podcast. And but I still have, like, I still follow, I have actually, like, honestly, like in the last 3 or 4 months, I've like dropped a lot of the casual listening that I've been doing in terms of just quantity.
Yeah.
Because our podcast has been more busy with the listening, but I still do quite a lot of it. But I wanted to mention, like, in terms of stuff from last year, like, there's stuff that was released in October, November, and December of last year that even if I bought it right when it dropped, I definitely didn't get it into my system until 2021, even if it was released in the late 2020,
So what do you mean into your system? Like internalized it, or actually just had it on at all?
Well, I don't know. For some stuff, it takes me a while, like, to, and I'm not sure if I know the right word for this, but like for its hooks to settle into me, I feel like, or for me to decide, like, oh, I'm not that into it or whatever. Like,
yeah.
There's a couple of things that I just put on the list where I'm still like the one, this has come up on the podcast, I swear, like 5 times. Mirna Bogdanovic.
Yeah.
The album Confrontation. I still can't get my head around it. Like, I couldn't sing you any melodies from this album. But I know that it's really good, Oh,
this
was released in December 2020.
I have this one, yeah.
I bought it. Like, I know that it's like a really solid, really good album, but like I haven't absorbed it fully yet.
Well, I mean, those are the most exciting ones where you can't figure out how someone else made it or something. I haven't heard the one you're talking about, but just as you're saying, there isn't a melody that you can think of. Like when I find something that I've come across that I'm just like, I literally don't know how this was made. Either from a compositional standpoint or a sound design standpoint or something. That's the most exciting stuff to me. And it makes me wonder what the hell I'm doing wrong. I guess that, if that makes sense. Yeah.
You ever hear something where, I mean, I think I've talked about this before, but there are certain things where you're a little upset that you aren't involved somehow.
all the time, and they're always like 2 to 3 decades ago.
How do I get back there?
Yeah.
Oh shit!
It's there's a band called Changes that was a really weird mix of Italians and people from, I think, the Philadelphia funk scene.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's an Italian American band. It's called Changes, and all
DJ
of their
Pauly D.
all of their albums have sort of consistent graphic design, and they have this song called "Hold Tight" that was stuck in my head for a solid 4 months this year. And every time I heard it, I was just so upset. It was like, this is the song I wanted to write, but didn't, or I was just a couple decades too late.
I see it. Yeah. All right.
Wait, is the band called Change?
Yes.
I thought it was Change. That's right.
Did you find them on the radio garden?
Oh yeah. So okay, yeah. So my to go back to listening situations.
Yes, please.
Yes.
So the way that I've been listening to music recently is a little bit odd. So I have done very little kind of focused listening. The majority of the time that I spend listening to music is when I'm at work in the back of a bookstore, where at any moment I could get like a page on the phone and I have to sort of break away and do something else.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's not really a conducive environment for really deep listening to through really thought out capital A albums and that kind of stuff. And where the thing that I've ended up listening to the most is actually a website called radio.garden. And it's, you pull it up and it's a globe, and there on the globe are streaming terrestrial radio stations.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. I mean, it's really cool. It's interactive. I'm playing with it right now, and it just blasted something in my ear. So sorry if that came through. But
Yeah, no. So it's generally it's been like a showing up to work and trying to figure out where I wanted to listen to that day, and just plugging around in Istanbul until I found something.
What are your top cities or regions?
Oh yeah, so you can search by region, and you can search by the name of the radio station. So the two that we end up playing the most, which are great for kind of physical jobs, are Dynamo Discotheque in Istanbul, which is just wall to wall banging disco, and it's a little bit more focused on European arena pop. From the 70s and 80s and that kind of stuff. So it's a lot of, about half of it is stuff you would recognize, but then other stuff that they'll throw on is just disco that was popular in whatever Bulgaria or something in 1984. And then there's a really great station in Lyon, France called Generations Funk, and they just play banging 70s and 80s like funk music.
But the fun part about that, now I'm just thinking about how you're listening to that. Let me guess, you're probably playing this stuff mostly during the workday, right?
Yeah.
So if you think about it, it's your workday. That's their like
Party
going
time.
out at nighttime.
Yeah,
If you're playing, if it's coming from Paris or Istanbul, that's so maybe there's different material that you're getting because that's actually the big part of my listening is these days is I listen while I'm working a desk job kind of thing to honestly it's almost just one radio station, NTS, from the UK, and I'm listening in West Coast California time. But to most of it's a primarily UK station, so I'm listening to the primetime bangers at noon, and so which I find really interesting actually. So just in terms of you're probably going to get different material. Like I don't get any of the morning shows. I wake up and it's just straight into the bangers. Just a funny thing about the international radio scene.
Yeah, for sure.
So that just made me realize that I guess that's another category of discovering music, right? Is listening to the radio. And I don't listen to the radio a ton these days. I do my like searching online, but Devin and I, we had to drive down to Morro Bay a few months ago, and it's like a 5-hour drive. And we listened to the radio the whole way, and we ended up discovering several things along the drive that ended up becoming kind of like our favorite music of the year. One of them was, I'll let Devin describe the Flock of Dimes.
Oh, yeah. Have you all heard this album?
No.
I listened to it like because you put it on this sheet, but not
Lovely
before
stuff.
then.
Yeah. So the track that we heard on the radio that they played, it was like an NPR affiliate in out of San Luis Obispo, I think. But they played the song "Pieces of Blue," and it was like 30 seconds into it, and I was like, whoa! And then at the end of it, it was just like, okay, we have to make sure we listen to the the set announcements, which is a little bit funny, because you're like in a car.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's not like on the internet where you can just like look up what they're playing. You have to like make sure that you hear the DJ tell you what they played. But anyway, it's a phenomenal album, just front to back. It's from what I understand, she's a singer primarily of a different band and wanted to do some things exploring certain types of vocal processing. So the whole way through the vocal arrangement and production is like very very processed in a lot of like really kind of unusual ways, like a lot of artificial harmonizers and that kind of stuff. And production wise, it's kind of like a
as opposed to
pop
natural
IDM album.
harmonizers.
Yeah, singing into seashells to get the resonant frequencies and that kind of stuff.
Just like Mama used to.
Yeah. So it's like it sounds super futuristic, but the if you break down the charts that she's playing, it has almost like an Irish folk song flavor to the actual like song structures and chord progressions and that kind of thing. But the production of everything sounds like it's coming out of the year 3000.
3000. So I guess the main project is Y Oak. So this is a side solo project of Jen Wassner.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because when we were listening to this album, I was thinking about the weird kind of dichotomy between the charts and the way that they're produced. And then later we started looking up some live performances, and she plays the material live in a variety of different band configurations. And it's like some of the times it's just like her with keyboard stuff, and then sometimes there's like live musicians, and then if you go all the way down, she has a one of these like NPR Tiny Desk at Home concerts where it's just an acoustic band, and she's playing the charts out, and they sound like you would assume that they would have been written originally, you know, with
Without effects.
acoustic guitar players and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool.
I love it. Yeah, I think I love hearing the difference between those, like where it starts and where it gets to with the produce. And I think we talked quite a bit with Kat Hunter about that, you know, the starting point and then where the song ends once it's all produced from Lack Below, which I found very interesting. But I always love hearing that process, you know, hearing the different versions of the songs, I guess demo out to full production.
Yeah.
And seeing what people's what their own visions are. And
Yeah, if and when the composition isn't also tied directly into the production process, which of course it's not always the case.
wait, say that one more time. You got a little
I said
flunkety.
if and when the production process is not directly a part of the compositional process.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Yeah.
is, you know, if the songs are in fact written separately from the recording process.
Yeah, that's so funny just thinking about that. Like, that's something I have to remind myself isn't natural to everyone. Just being, you know, a primarily electronic musician of the age that I am. For listeners at home, I'm late 30s. And so it's that for some of us, that's just how we think. There's no separation of production and recording and composition. It's all just kind of one big bucket. But you think about, you know, the old ways of doing things. And yeah, it's it makes me want to maybe spend some more time doing that, actually. Just taking the recording out of it and getting good.
I feel like there are some albums that I've listened to where it becomes very clear to me, and I'm not a musician like day to day, so I'm not in it every day like you all are, but like I listen to some things and I'm like, okay, this person is doing something very concerted compositionally, and I can hear that. And one of them was that Laura Mvula album. It's like
Yeah.
very much like 80s throwback, like you can just hear all the love for that era, but it's also so well crafted, and you can hear there's so much space in the album, and it's so clear what's going on. I could almost see the music, and when I looked her up and tried to learn a little bit more about her, I learned that actually she studied music and was a composition major in college, and it all sort of started to come together.
What about that G Lee Orchestra?
Oh, Daring Mind.
Yeah.
You want
That's
to talk about that one?
I want you to talk about that one.
The compositional feats on that album are intimidating, to say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was another Metacritic discovery. And I listened to it practicing yoga. I think maybe on a morning Devin wasn't here, and I remember like sending it to him like 5 times, like, you should listen to this. You should listen to this. And I think finally I like sat him down and we listened to it together, and he's like, yeah, this is really good. And then I shared it. Okay, so to describe it, I'm not going to do it justice, but it's kind of like a big band album. Is that how you would describe it?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just very it's very playful of an album, and so she gives the composer gives the musicians a lot of space, I think, to do some really interesting and bizarre things in the performance. And I shared it also with Devin's father, who's a conductor, a music conductor of these kinds of bands, and plays the French horn. And I was actually really nervous. I was like, I kind of like this one. And he responded,
He is also like ruthlessly judgmental.
and he responded, "This is good stuff, really good stuff." To which I felt like really proud. I was like, "Okay, now I think I'm onto something."
Gold star for Amy.
Yeah.
There's some heavy hitters on this. I mean, it was produced by Darcy James Argue, who's one of the top leaders of big bands out there right now.
Would you argue that? Sorry.
And let's see. I mean, Sean Jones on trumpet, Mark Patterson on trombone, Mark Ferber on drums. This is very.
The artist note is really cool. That here on BandCamp, it says, "Daring Mind is a documentation of my first 4 years in New York. Composing has been my best friend. We danced, cried, laughed, and suffered together. Music heals me by helping to release my emotions. I hope this album can take you on a similar journey, as we are all human beings sharing the ups and downs of life."
And there you have it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good stuff. Good stuff. Really liked it. This album.
can't recommend that one enough.
So I'm just curious, Amy, of all these albums that you have listed, do you have one that's like the number one that you like would come, like if you were on a desert island and you just had one album to take to do yoga with?
Oh wow, that's hard. I think Daring Mind would be up there just because every time I listen to it, I find something totally new. And then I think the Balakay Sissoko album also is just so, like, if I was on an island and I just wanted to keep calm and keep from going crazy, I might take that album with me just because it's so relaxing of an album to listen to. And the instrument that he plays is just one of the most beautiful instruments. And I still don't know the name of it. Bob, you might know, I feel like.
I do not know.
No.
But I'm familiar, like I know what it looks like, but I don't know what it's called.
Is it the thumb thing?
It's
No.
played almost like a harp, but it's played in front of you.
Yeah, like picture like a large gourd with two courses of strings on both the left and right side.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a kora, Kora. And
Well, there you have it.
he's a Malian player. I don't really even know how to describe this music. It's just beautiful. And he usually plays with a group, percussion and some other interesting string music. And it's got kind of like a Middle Eastern vibe to it, I would say.
Yeah, it's really good. Also, I noticed that this person has released 3 albums this year, actually, on BandCamp. I guess one is just a single, but there's at least 2 full-length albums.
Yeah, I think I've listened to some of the other ones. And I think he plays with other artists as well. So you'll see him pop up on other albums.
Yeah, great stuff. So, did anyone check out any of the best of lists at all?
I'm a little bit at this esoteric because this always is fascinating to me.
Yeah, BandCamp's weird lists.
Yeah.
Well, they it's funny, they really took a turn on their lists like about 3 years ago, because they were doing just one list that was like the best 100 albums of BandCamp, and they were ordering them like 100 to like 1. There would be a number 1, best one, and now they just have these like many different lists of many different varieties, and like the things that glue the list together are so esoteric. It's like it's almost hard to track.
I like popped into a couple of these, but the only one I think I listened all the way through to was Future History. But I like this way of organizing, and I think in classic style, BandCamp is doing it the right way.
Yeah,
there was nothing on any of these lists that I knew, just like eyeballing it, and I was like, I have no idea what any of this is.
That's the best you can
Yeah.
you can ask for, really.
these aren't even all the lists of Bandcamp. They had like at least 10 or 15 best of 2021 lists of different varieties. Like they had your normal like best metal, best jazz, best classical, blah blah blah, all the like best subgenre lists, and then they have these ones that I put in here, which are like extra weird. The psychedelic visions, bodies in motion.
I do feel like there's a certain just talking about the way that these lists are made, for instance, and Devin's point of oh, I don't know any of this music. I think there's two ways that people tend to read best of lists. One is confirmation bias kind of thing. You look through it and you see like, well, this one, okay, yeah, they got this hot album that I really liked. Like, okay, this is a cool list. I agree with this. That's one way that I think people tend to read these things. And the other one is the discovery way, which I think those are the two. I do think that they feed into each other in that if you see a list that has a few things that you recognize and like, oh, okay, you have confirmed that I have similar taste to you. Let me see what else is out there. I think that's the other thing. I mean, coming from this reminds me of there's a thing in the DJ community of DJ charts that people will put out like once a month, and it's like these are my top 10 tracks of the last month, and so it's really common for these just lists to be generated constantly, which I think makes sense for the kind of career DJ types because they get an avalanche of music sent to them. It's the DJ music promo system is just insane. It's a fire hose. So I think it makes sense for people to of a way to kind of wrap your head around these things and keep it all good. I mean, something that I've been thinking about. I'm just kind of going off here now.
It's all good, man.
I buy a lot of music.
Go right off.
I buy a lot of music on Bandcamp and other places, but let's be real, it's mostly Bandcamp. And I buy so much music, and yet I don't have a really good way of cataloging it other than just I dump it into iTunes, and then, well, hopefully I'll star the songs and hopefully come back to them. What I don't really care about buying physical copies of things because they're expensive and environmentally harmful, blah, blah, blah. But what I have wanted to do is try to get vinyl copies of the best, just so that I have a way of cataloging that in my real life, of being like, this was one of the best ones. And so I kind of want to just go back and like, maybe that'll be my like 2022 thing is, each month I'll buy my favorite record of that month, even if I already bought the MP3s. At least I'll then have that physical connection to that, so I can go back into my collection later on and sift out the best.
Yeah,
right on.
I like that idea. I honestly thought that you were just thinking about like making a playlist of your favorites from that time and just having that pressed. So you'd have your own curated playlists. But
that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I don't know if this translates directly, but when I read a book, I like to write a little review because I feel like if I write the review, then it sort of solidifies in my head what I liked about the book, and I remember the book more
That's
after I do that.
A really good idea.
And so,
where are these
speaking of
reviews?
reviews,
yeah, where are these just at
Are they
home in your
public?
pocket?
I put them on Goodreads. I feel like I'm the terrible evil person in the room. I use like Goodreads and YouTube Music and Metacritic.
No, it's very good.
Yeah,
None of
But-
this is offensive to me. I just don't know anything about it.
Yeah. For the snootier people, Storygraph is the thing that's like Goodreads, but not owned by Amazon.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, I'm curious. Actually, maybe a separate conversation, Richard, is curious to hear your philosophy around supporting artists by buying their music, because that's one thing I don't do now, but would love to just kind of like pick your brain about your philosophy and like how to do that in a way that you can still discover the music and listen to a lot of music and support the artist.
Well, I think the best way to do it is to buy the NFT. I mean, that's what we should be doing. We should be making NFTs of our best of lists. In that way, we know that they're the best.
I gotta go.
So check us out on Twitter.
You've
Tones
got
out
most of the
_4.
letters. In Fantastic Tones, you've got the F and the T already, so you just need to change one of the words to start with an N.
Yeah.
And then you're all set to go.
Noonan for Noonan's bones. Newman's bones.
There we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Bandcamp. Bandcamp all the way.
Go.
Bandcamp is my curse and my joy. Because I spend too much time on it and I spend too much money on it. But it also has the best music, I feel like.
Well,
I
it's
want to.
the best way to support the cats in general, the artists. But anyway,
I had two things. The one is I had not heard about these DJ top 10 lists. This is very outside of my arena.
Yeah,
like
charts.
So is this like an individual DJ will put together for the month the tracks that they have spun the most, or the things that people have sent them that they're like, these are good?
It's kind of a choose your own venture in that way. I think that the people who tend to do charts are the kind of mainstream people who are tastemakers, for instance. And it's a big deal if your track is like as an independent producer, if your track is included on a big DJ's list, that can get you some attention for sure, because people are looking for that kind of traction. And DJs being DJs, it tends to be the bangers of the month, so not necessarily what they've been sent. Well, there are many layers of this in DJ culture where you have people who don't like to share their track IDs, because it's sort of their intellectual property. So even if it's someone else's music that they're playing, they don't want to share that because they are insecure about well, if someone takes all the tracks that I play, then they are becoming me, and they are stealing my hard work. I can see a little bit of an argument to that.
wait, can you just wait? What's a track ID, real quick?
Yeah. Track ID is just what song is it? What song are you playing right now?
Got it.
Yeah.
This is like just the art of being a DJ is like curation, and any two people could curate the same things.
Theoretically, yes.
Wait,
exactly.
are there?
Yeah, but that goes way back. Like they used to scratch off the labels, but back when they were spinning breakbeats, so no one else would have access to those breakbeats.
Exactly.
They could, dominate the parties.
So the question I have is, are there like DJ, like the way that you can go see, like an Elvis impersonator? Are there like Tiesto impersonators who spin exactly identical sets? Like they've done the research, they know what's in the crate,
Buy the NFT of that. That's.
So I actually have a different question. I thought we were about to ask the same question, but my question is there like a database of unique track IDs out there? So like I can look up like a numeric ID and find that.
Ooh, but the closest you're gonna get is from Discogs, I think.
So track ID. That's just people's way of saying there's not like a number to it. It's just like that's the Beatles, Love Me Do. Like that's a track ID.
Got it.
Kind of thing. It's like what track is this? I need to know what this is. It's so good. I have said that many times in my life, completely sincerely. And but actually, yeah, there are websites dedicated to taking DJ sets, and then the community like IDs the tracks in there. The biggest one is mixesdb.com. And so you can go to like, Tiesto and look at his sets that have been recorded either by either been streamed online or someone's recorded it. And there's no track list, but the community has ID'd the tracks.
Got it.
So
Take
you can
that,
get
Tiesto.
the playlist.
Okay, that's helpful. In my head, I was imagining this huge database with like standardized, like the financial sector has, like everything standardized, and institutions have IDs, like maybe.
Yeah, no, probably the closest you could get would be performance rights organizations might have APIs of some sort. So you could get like the ASCAP and the BMI API, and they may assign like unique IDs to compositions or recordings of compositions. But
Okay.
no, this is a great question though.
This is fascinating. I'm sorry. This is
I
a
love
total
this.
tangent.
No,
I'm so
no,
sorry.
we want this. This is. I think you need to start the Financial Times of DJ track IDs.
Yeah, because when I don't know if you do this for everything that you put out, Bob, but like going through ASCAP and like assigning each song, it's like it's code, right? Each song has its own code. So like if you do get radio play, or if you do send in a playlist, you send in all the codes for the songs, and then they like give you like 12 cents in your little account in ASCAP, right?
Yeah.
And or also for streaming and all that. That's what you're talking about, right, Devin?
Yeah. Yeah,
Bob?
the performance rights organizations have to track all that stuff for legal reasons.
Yeah.
Bob, do you actually deal with that?
No, I did once, and then it just doesn't make sense for me to do that. I'm not getting radio play.
It's kind of a headache.
Yeah. I did it once, like in 2002 or something, but
I mean, if you do distro through something like DistroKid or CD Baby, you get it automatically. But who wants to do that?
yeah, I don't. That's for sure. I was looking on the Billboard charts, which are like, I guess a lot of people would argue is the definitive chart of like what is actually the most popular. And both the Marfa tapes and Brandy Carlisle both made it in the top 50.
Awesome.
Wow.
Brandy Carlisle won some Grammys for that album as well.
Yeah, she better have.
So, speaking of that album, Devin and I were chatting about that the other day, and I feel like I fell in love with it. And Devin, you had kind of like a so-so reaction to it.
Yeah, it wasn't love at first sight.
Yeah. And one of the things we were chatting about was the production. Like you had some thoughts on like how it would have been produced in a way differently that you would have liked better.
Yeah, I like when I was listening to this, I wanted it to sound like Dusty in Memphis, and it sounded like a clean, like 2021, clean professional album. And I wanted it to be rougher. I wanted it to be more stylized.
This is an interesting thing with country, I think, is that there's a pretty wide variety of what is considered to be country and how much production I would just say over producing an album goes into it, because like some country is like basically just pop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like some other countries, just like the Marfa tapes is like the most boiled down thing I've heard in a long time, honestly.
I was thinking about this, and so I grew up in South Florida on a music diet of like Leanne Rimes and Billy Ray Cyrus and Garth Brooks, and they were all also in that sphere of like they used modern day production. Their songs were top pop hits, and so I think of that as country music. And one of the things I was thinking about is I wonder if it's more like the the spirit of using what you have available, no matter what the tools are or what's kind of like most common, is a way of producing the country music. Like I feel like that's kind of part of it. And so today, professional musicians have all this great equipment and tools at their fingertips. So of course that's what they would use to make the country music.
So you're saying that all-star country music is folk music still?
I think so. Okay. Yeah.
Totally.
That's kind of what I'm saying. And that's the thought I was having after we had that conversation. I was like, would it feel more country to me if they had overlaid a bunch of interesting production things to make it sound more like quote unquote country,
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's that Waylon Jennings song, I don't think Hank done it that way.
Yeah.
3 chords in the truth.
No, I think you make a really good point, Amy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing you saying is that Florida Georgia Line did nothing wrong.
Florida Georgia Line apologist.
maybe just give it another chance.
Oh no, I mean I didn't dislike it. Yeah, I didn't dislike it. I in fact liked the last song quite a bit. I really thought that last song was like,
Has
really
anyone
pulled my heartstrings.
Has anyone tried Florida Georgia Line's whiskey?
No.
No. Has anyone tried the Deftones weed?
No, but I almost bought the Deftones wine.
Wait, that's not an album. That's
Yeah, the Deftones got some weed now.
I almost bought the Deftones wine the other day.
They've
They have
got
wine?
wine?
Yeah, I was thinking about you, Devin, like because it popped into maybe I'm totally mixing this up with another band.
I've had the Snoop Dogg wine. I haven't had the.
We've made a horrible faux pas here. We have missed an opportunity to all have E40's hot dogs together.
Yeah.
I'm
Earl
sorry,
Stevens,
it's not
man.
wine. It's tequila.
Any of the E40. Slurricane. Slurricane, man. Wolf.
I misspoke. It's not wine. It's tequila.
Oh,
But yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It makes a lot more sense, honestly, than wine.
Well,
But-
what's his name? Maynard James Keenan is just doing wine now, right? He retired from Tool to do wine.
Did he?
I think that's most musicians. I mean, not that they're making it. Just retired from music to just do wine.
Yeah.
especially if they live in California, I think.
Well, I don't know about the retirement. That might have been fake news, but he is making wine. I know that.
Yeah.
I know it. I've seen it.
But none of us have tried any of these.
No.
Oh, there's your
Except
next
for Snoop
episode
Dogg.
right there.
I tried. I did
Oh, yeah,
also
like
try
a Drink
Snoop
Champs
Dogg's
version
one.
of Fantastic Tones.
Yeah. Man, crazy about one thing that's really interesting to me about the Billboard charts here, which again is like,
Okay. I was thinking about that. Remember, that's not critical. These aren't Billboard charts are sales. So
yeah, this is like data driven information. Almost.
yes, it's not critical. It's just volume.
Exactly. Yes. So one thing for work, a couple of these artists came across my desk and like I would go to I'm not going to mention which ones, but like I would go to their YouTube page and there would be, or like a YouTube video.
Name names.
I'd go to a YouTube video and there would be like like 10,000 views or so or less, which is like just like extremely rare for anything to be on the Billboard charts at all, unless it's got less than hundreds of millions of views on YouTube.
Well, it's all about TikTok, man.
Well,
You
yeah,
gotta-
that's the
you gotta
thing.
keep up.
Some of these artists are popular on TikTok, and this is being tracked in this chart, which is fascinating to me. That like I don't understand. I literally don't understand how an album, how like a platform that limits the length of a video. I don't know how long TikTok videos are, but it's like a minute or something.
I don't know.
Do you guys
I'm
know?
not on it.
I'm not on it either.
None of us know, but they're
We're
short.
all olds.
Yeah. But like how that can track as like being like like music being popular on that platform, like an album being popular on that platform. Like the relationship there is somehow broken to me. I don't understand.
Well, I mean, like, so getting back to our kind of lists here, I think this actually kind of, while we were preparing for this, so Bob had shared a group document that we all wrote in on, and I did not do my homework, and I just wrote in this one link I'd happened to be looking at that was this one blogger I follow, who's this kind of like esoteric audio guy, but he put in his top 10 or his favorite memes of the year. And the reason I bring that up is because TikTok is the memification of music. It's like, is it this small bite-sized thing that brings you joy for that 15-second piece of your life. If you can bring that many people joy for 15 seconds, cool. You know, that's good on you. I'm not being sarcastic at all. I mean, completely sincere here. That's a cool thing.
I understand that. I think the thing that is confusing to me is just the length of available content. Like what is like if a 15-second clip is popular on TikTok, how does that translate to a full-length album being popular?
They're not talking about the album. Like Billboard charts they're doing singles.
Yeah.
No, these are albums.
It makes me think about how in marketing language there's something called the halo effect, which is that if you can get people to look at whatever, TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or, you know, whatever thing, then it has this halo effect. Maybe later they'll be like, maybe I should go listen to the album. And there's that link there, I think.
It's crazy though.
It is, totally.
Well, but
interesting.
Cycling back, these things feed back in interesting ways. Like on that same trip when we were in a rental car and listening to the terrestrial radio during a drive time DJ mix, we were listening to, it was like the pop station in that area of sort of like just north of Southern California. And the drive time radio DJ was playing this cool set that was like a mix of English and Spanish language tracks. And he played this track that I was like, this is incredible, but I don't speak Spanish. So I really had, it was very difficult for me to figure out. It was like, okay, so I got to like figure out what the singer is saying repeatedly, because that's probably something I could search for to figure out what the track was. And the upshot is that the track that they played was Kali Uchis Telepatia. And I was like, this song is phenomenal. And then I found out later the reason it is getting radio play is that it actually came out quite a while ago, and then it got popular on TikTok. Once it got popular on TikTok, DJs started playing it in other kinds of contexts. So like I got this like 3 or 4 generations down the line, super late to it, but also that's a great song. The whole album is great.
It's a cool song.
Yeah.
What is it? Say that again? Or did you put it on this list?
I don't think I did. I'm not sure if it came out this year. The artist's name is Kali Uchis. And the song in particular that's like a total like TikTok smash hit is called Telepatia. The album name is sort of slipping me. It has an infinity sign in it, and it's broadly pink with a stylized illustration of the singer as an angel on it.
Gotcha. Telepathies.
Adding to that, I have had some experiences recently and in the last year where, you know, if, with radio, and then also like getting a haircut and they're just cycling something through. Like a couple of times last time I had to have the barber stop and tell me what was playing, because there was one song that was so good. It was so amazing. And
Oh no, that's just Merzbow. It's just the sound of hair being cut.
But I went home and I found it. I listened to it because he sort of vaguely said the name. Didn't know the name of the track, but I found it. And I listened to that song about 20 times in a row, took in as much as I could of it, and then like kind of moved on. And this has happened with the radio as well, where I heard, I forget the name of the song, but it was something that like deeply infected. Like I had to listen through. It was like a 9-minute long song, but I had to stop and park in front of my space before I went in and wait for the very end. And then the DJ just, instead of announcing, just went straight through. So I had to look it up on the Calix website. And then I listened to that obsessively, that one song, for, I don't know, probably 3 months, something like that. And I tried to make a track that sounded like it. And I did everything that I could, and then it was done. But so it's almost problematic, where instead of like taking on full records from these artists or something, it's like the initial dopamine hit or whatever it is, that, you know, that spike that I just like exist in that world for a long time, and then it's gone, you know. It's maybe it doesn't help me take on as much new music as I could, unfortunately, because I get a little obsessive when I discover something that I really like. I'll just be in that world for as long as I can.
I don't think that's a bad thing.
I say that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Go ahead,
used to
Bob.
do this thing when I was younger, and now I know that it's a mistake to do this, for me at least, where I would be so into something that I would like make myself not listen to it all the time. And so I'd be like, so I wouldn't get tired of it. So I could keep enjoying it as much.
Yeah.
It would be just as special as that every time. But I think that's not the way to do it. I think it is best to like fully indulge, if you are really into something, to fully
Eat all
indulge
of
yourself.
the chocolate is what
Yes.
you're saying. You think you should eat all of the musical chocolate.
Yeah, I think that's the way to do it, because then you really get to experience like your journey with it.
Well, I like what you were
Yeah.
saying there, Mark, about you know, making something kind of in that style of something that you heard, and this kind of ties back into sometimes I'll go out to a show or something, and I'll see someone play some song, but a lot of times I'm going to see DJs, and so I don't know all the music they're playing. They're not playing their own music all the time. They'll be playing someone else's, and I can't find that thing that we've all learned that we're all looking for, the track ID. And but I'll have some sort of and maybe it's an unreleased track. Maybe it's, you know, it's just impossible to find. Maybe it's small print and it doesn't have good distribution. Whatever the reason, you can't get this. I can't find it. I have gone sometimes I'll have tried to kind of recreate what I think that sounded like as an exercise for myself, and because I just wanted to hear it, and like, well, I can't hear this song, so I better just make my own thing that is in that style, so that I get to hear this, that otherwise I'm unable to hear it. So that's I just want to I've had a similar experience to you in that way. And I think that's also a fun musical exercise to do. And speaking of fun musical exercises, here's what I propose we do next year: is we read the top 10 lists from the last year. We read the reviews, and then we recreate, without listening to the music, we recreate the album that made that review.
I
like this.
I'm fully on board.
I'm in
It's
it.
great. Yeah.
I like compositional exercises that force you to work backwards from some absurd point. Like, for example, an AI generated album cover.
Yes. I love how that's going.
Yeah. It's great fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be a fun exercise.
That feels kind of Shags in spirit.
Yeah. Read Shag's reviews and then work backwards from there.
That would be an amazing album.
Yeah.
I would feel weird because most of the reviews talk about how they're like, you know, young girls being basically goaded on by their father. You know, I don't know how I would personally try to recreate that. You know,
What are you talking about?
Fair.
Wait, what do you mean?
Am I getting this confused? Like
No,
our
you're
philosophy of the world, right?
Yeah, no, you got it.
Yeah.
That's the story.
Yeah, you know,
maybe it's
who-
something I don't understand about the Shags.
It is a little weird now that you describe it, like if you have no context about the music.
yeah. I would just. I don't know if I would feel. Anyway, it would make me feel uncomfortable, but I'll still go for it. I would try to embody two young sisters who are being like almost forced to learn their instruments by their parents and stuff. You
A
know?
feminist reinterpretation, reowning of the Shags, as
Yes.
as played by a bunch of males and they're pushing 40. Yeah, this is good.
Yeah, it'll be like the Cersei book of the Shags.
Perfect. I don't know what that is either. I'm such a young child in the world.
So, Richard, do you want to take us through this list you made a little bit? Because
With
it's
the
all
meme?
it's all noise to me, man.
Okay. No, that's a separate best of list. The noise list. I'll just I'll call out a few just notables for me on this. And I'm going to see a concert in March. This wonderful Dutch R&B singer, Erica de Cassier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Erica is fly. She's actually playing Oakland, and this is another one of these artists. So much of the music I listen to tends to be kind of Europe oriented, or like so. The reason I'm mentioning that is because her tour, all the European dates sold out,
Whoa.
and all the American dates, like you can get however many tickets you want. And she's basically doing 90s throwback R&B.
Yeah.
But she's this young woman who is a great singer. And she just has some smooth bangers. That's all I can say about it. It's they're really nice. She's got some hits. That's
Yeah.
Erica de Cassier.
The production is just so period correct. I mean, it just sounds like everything's coming out of a motif. It's like incredible.
Yeah.
But it's not like overly dated. It also sounds modern, you know. And I think that's so hard to hit. How do you do a throwback thing without it sounding dated? And she nailed it. Another one I just recommend that's a good compilation is the Curses Next Wave Acid Punks compilation. That is a 3-disc compilation of a kind of spanning the history of what's kind of EBM, which stands for electronic body music, which, as far as I know, I think that term might actually predate electronic dance music, EDM. So electronic body music is kind of like industrial electronica. Bands like Front 242 were kind of premier EBM acts. And so he's put together this great compilation of the Italo EBM and it just kind of what do you call it? No wave. It's just a bunch of underground, too cool for school electronica that I think is super fun. It's really it's the kind of stuff that as soon as you hear it, I at least picture people smoking cigarettes in leather and riding Vespas, and it's it's very fun going. The 3 discs go from the 80s origin up through to today's kind of contemporary hot tracks. It's a good one, but just it's, I don't know, a lot of music there that's mostly dance floor focused. It didn't prepare speech.
No. That's super solid.
I have
all
a
good.
question for you, not to put you on the spot, but I feel like you, maybe out of the group, tell me if this is true, are out like doing live music or being with live music more these days.
I have been out a bit. I do still get involved in nightlife. I've tried to start a monthly event at a local club. That has not gone well because we were meant to do one 2 nights from now, but Omicron. So it's difficult to get going. But yeah, I'm still involved. I still go out a little bit, but it's very much tapping the brakes and wearing masks and going to the ones that are outdoors, and it's a bit of a challenge.
Well, in the spirit of best of lists, were there like any that stood out in particular over the last year?
Ooh.
That sweet spot before Delta hit.
Actually, yeah. I mean, I'm just gonna toot my own horn. The opening weekend of so California they were taking off the precautions. I think they were opening back up June 15th. There was that sweet month where we're like, oh, we can start doing things again. Things open back up.
I played a bananas gig the night that the mask mandate was lifted. It was like bonkers. But anyway, go on, carry on.
Exactly. That's what I did. I played a fantastic set for a friend's party. And yeah, I think it's online. It was June 15th. I remember specifically. That one is probably one of my favorite sets I've ever played. It was just that energy of just kind of unleashing, demasking. And yeah, it's just a DJ set. I didn't play my own stuff. I'm very specific about when I do play that and when I'm just playing a party. It's very it's not about me, it's about the party in most circumstances. Performances are different, blah blah blah. But that's that was a day party at Natoma Cabin. Or Natoma Cabana, right by the Salesforce Tower. Fantastic. Yeah.
I had a funny experience that night because, my friend Derek Barber, he asked me to play a duo gig. And I was like, cool, yeah, we've been playing some duo gigs at Madrone Art Bar on Deviz, and it's fun. So I thought this was just another one. And then suddenly it was like slammed, popping, all these people.
Man.
And I was like, man, no one's like wearing masks. and then like someone told me eventually that it was the night that the mandate was lifted, and it was expected to be like one of the biggest nights for that bar in recent history.
Fantastic.
Whoa.
And like Brass Magic played after us. So, there was a bunch of them like kind of chilling and listening to our set. By the end of it, I look up and like there's some of the cats like, Rob Ewan and Rafi Garabedian just kind of watching us. I was like, oh wow, this is kind of this got very real in terms of the ears in the audience, but also there's
what
just
material were you playing?
We were like playing standards, man. Like vibraphone and guitar standards. It was
Hell yeah.
it's a really like fun gig with Derek because he's not
Autumn leaves.
he's not like necessarily traditionally a jazz player, and so we'll find these really cool textural ways of navigating standards.
And so many standards written for vibraphone and guitar. I mean, that's really
actually it actually works super well. Once we figure out like how to groove with each other for comping and all that, it works super well. But that night was so bonkers. I actually didn't stay because I didn't feel safe with my vibraphone around. But the bar was absolute. It was popping and it was very cool energy. Everyone was super excited. That was fun. But I just thought it was funny that I went into that having no idea that that's what it was. I thought it was just a gig. But so be it.
Yeah. It's never just a gig, man.
Well, I'll call out gonna call out two tracks on this list of things that I have down that are just kind of I recommend as an exercise to the reader, listener. One of them just being the Terror, Wings of Time. It's just a very euphoric track that for me really kind of takes me to a very euphoric, calm, contemplative, yet high energy place. It's a bit of an oxymoron, but I think that for me that was the kind of emotional track of the year, as far as just kind of a candy dance floor track that's also just pretty. And on the more challenging side, the last thing I bought last year is Prove On, the Posor EP. It's the very last thing on that list, and that's what I was thinking of when I mentioned not having any idea how something was written. I don't know what this music is doing. I don't know how it's made. And that's just always super exciting to hear as an electronic musician, where you're like, I don't know what this person did. This isn't in my toolkit. And that's just so exciting. So I highly recommend that.
I love the image of the vinyl album on this BandCamp link, because it's a fake image of it's like a cartoon vinyl disc, but the album cover is like a real vinyl. So it's like a real vinyl printed.
Oh, weird.
That's cute.
Yes. Oh, and there's Richard right there. Hey, bud.
Club forward, masterfully sound designed, IEM at its finest.
Hey, on this Buy Music Club, do they make all just the hits stuff? Like, do they make this little banner that's up here, or did you make that?
Oh, I stole that off of Amazon.com.
Beautiful. That's
good.
So Buy Music Club again is specific for
so
BandCamp.
What it is it's a couple. It's not an official BandCamp thing. It's this other just third-party website made by a couple people. I think they're both DJs who just wanted a way to playlist and share out music that they like. And so anyone can go on here, make an account, and basically make playlists. You make charts that you can then send to people, and just like, hey, these are my favorite ones I bought this month, whatever it is. And it only takes music from Bandcamp. But let's be honest, that's the only real way to buy music these days. So it's it's good. It's easy. I recommend it. It's fun.
Is YouTube Music a subscription service?
Mm-hmm. It is, yeah.
And do you find that it is like pretty good selection? Like they license a wide swath, like good material.
Yeah. In fact, I recently, a song popped into my head. Some of us are friends with a person named Nick Krug. He had an album that came out that he did in college called Lullabies for Strangers.
Oh yeah.
And one morning, one of the songs from the album just popped in my head randomly. I haven't listened to it in like a decade. And I was like, I wonder where I could find it. And I searched YouTube Music, and sure enough, it was there. And I could listen to the whole album that my friend did in college, and so I thought that was pretty cool.
What is he doing these days? I wonder, like musically.
Yeah, I don't know. You guys should interview him.
Yeah,
it was out for about 7 seconds there. I don't know what's going on, but
all right, man, this is coming out of your paycheck.
Okay, thank you, thank you, sir, thank you.
I don't know that he's I haven't heard, or he hasn't played me things that he's written in any recently, but he has put together an incredible synth dungeon. So that's in existence. It's impressive. I've seen it. it's a lot of oscillators, a lot of filters. There's a lot going on in there.
Does he charge admission? Like, can you go?
I mean, it can't hurt to ask, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I do hope he does put out music again at some point, because that album that you're talking about, Amy, is super. That was the last thing that he put out, as far as I know.
I think so. Yeah.
So, Bob,
Yeah.
we've come to the portion of tonight where you need to talk about your favorite metal. Just for a little bit.
Yeah. I have to say that I like looking at all these lists, but the lists that I really critically look at are the metal lists.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But there's like
which ones in particular?
Really, honestly, which lists?
Yeah, are there any that you
is that your
value
question?
over others? Yeah, like for metal, for best of, which ones do you? What's the best of the best of?
Usually Metal Sucks does a pretty good job of that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually really impressed this year with the Pop Matters metal list.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, they have a really solid, interesting list of that has a number of things that I had not heard on it. I'm usually checking out the lists to see, because usually with metal, unlike pop music or other stuff, like it's hard to like tell what's popping up, like popping away from the noise, let's say, you know?
Yeah.
And so like the end of the year lists are at least some indication of that.
Wait, can I ask a question there?
Yeah.
Is there some equivalent to like the stan culture in like the metal world?
Stan, like
Or it's a like a slang term for like pop super fans.
yeah, but I guess, what do you mean by stan culture?
So it
Comes out of an Eminem tune.
yeah. The gist of it is when you're like a stan, it tends to be someone will be like a stan for Mariah Carey or like a stan for Lana Del Rey. And the idea is that you will defend your chosen what's the word for that? Like in when knights duel one another, but the page
Honor.
supports them.
Their honor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Honor guard or whatever.
Yeah. You defend that person no matter what, and it's like
you'll be their champion.
Yeah, you'll
I'm
be their
pretty
champion.
sure this does exist in metal, but they're all white supremacists in prison.
I mean, I guess I'm not sure. Like, there's always people that have a favorite band. That everyone has a favorite band or whatever. Like, you know, if Cryptopsy or Meshuggah does something for me, I'm gonna, like, no matter what, like, probably pay attention to it, even if if they come near me, I'll go see them play, you know?
Yeah, but is there like a channel for that kind of dedicated following of a metal artist? Like in terms of to your comment about not having a good visibility of this stuff bubbling up.
Something like Invisible Oranges, something like that might be addressing what you're talking about.
I'm still like, what's the comparison? Compare that to something else, like what you're asking about.
So, like in the pop world, you sort of have a sense of that the landscape of the bubbling based on kind of the not necessarily the content of the noise, but the amount of noise that's being generated. And the stands are kind of like the foot soldiers that generate the most noise, and that then bubbles up into the journalistic spheres where the pop music journalists are writing about this kind of churn. and when the churn gets particularly intense, these articles kind of come out, and you can sort of get a lay of the landscape based on like looking at these various levels as to like what the quote unquote like important or like the hot things are, right? So I'm just wondering if there's some kind of a equivalent to that in like the metal world, because it seems like there's a lot of
well, I think not, because the sort of like if we're talking like what about like the BTS army, for example, like
right, yeah,
the
is there
BTS
like an Anthrax BTS army or something?
I mean, there isn't. There's just not enough people. So there's not enough noise to even make a blip on anyone's radar. If that makes sense. I'm sure there's data being tracked by people. Like, I'm sure that that every record label is like thoroughly investigating all of the data points that they can in order to leverage. But like to the casual observer that's just like looking on the internet, like it depends. It's like, because you have to dive down so many holes to find obscure stuff in metal a lot of the times. And like, you just don't know like how many other people are down in those holes with you.
Well,
Yeah.
I would say the thing about metal that I think makes it an interesting scene is the people who are in the bands are the stands. Like the separate, like the number of people who I have no data to back this up. I'm just kind of riffing here, but I bet if you took like number of people who are fans of, let's just say, death metal versus number of people who are active in making that music, there's probably a lot of people who are fans who are active in it compared to pop. You know, you get a lot of pop listeners who aren't active in making it. But I think that like, you know, metal, and particularly the more extreme metal, you get a higher percentage of fan to artist. And so I think that's also why you see a lot of this, a lot of the kind of fandom within metal being the people in the actual bands wearing other bands' t-shirts. Like that's that really cool thing. Like if you see someone in,
I do love that very much.
yeah,
It's
like
so
that,
sweet.
like that's how you discover bands. Like, oh, the guitarist in Cryptopsy is wearing this shirt. Like, okay, if I can make this legible to understand what this shirt is saying, I'm gonna go check that band out. Because if he's like, that's a sign of endorsement. That's on his top 10 of the year, you know, if he's wearing that shirt.
Yeah.
That I forget, someone was saying, perhaps it was on the podcast, or like they would learn about new bands by looking at what bands t-shirts, like what t-shirts bands were wearing when they would go to shows. I think I read that or something, but yeah. But yeah, so it's interesting. Like I was very happy to see I Voidhanger appear on a number of lists, which they never have before, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, them and Sentient Ruin, also another really cool experimental label.
They're local, right? They're on
they're from the 510.
Yeah. So yeah, and like I don't know. There's been an excess of music released this year. There was a lot of music released in 2020, and I think just because of like the lockdown, people are recording more. But I feel like there was even more released in 2021. So there's like just more stuff, and some of the people that maybe didn't get it together to make an album in 2020 got it together in 2021, or got their album actually out. So there's just like a deluge of material. But for me, I think like the all-time, in terms of like metal, the best number one album of the year that was on 0 lists that I read is the Jutejite Mitriolitat album
Mm-hmm.
which is magnificent, insane, um like a real deep listen, a really difficult listen.
Challenging listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's so much to go into about this album, but it's like
I mean, look, any band that treats their audience as kind of how do I say this? As antagonistically as they treat their music.
yeah, it's hard. Like it's not an easy listen. Like there's nothing that like but the thing that's really interesting about this is like you can see a progression with Jutite that's maybe started in the era of Oviri, which is like I think one of the albums that brought Jutite to a little bit more of popularity, but where he's really mixing like elements of like electronic music and metal and classical contemporary classical composition, like all into one sort of thing. So like you have these really long expansive pieces that are like that kind of involve all of those elements of like, you know, black metal. You have like microtonal, polytempi, tonalities, and you know, all these references to like Greek poetry and stuff that he's talking about. I don't understand, but
Yeah, after you compiled those lyrics for me in making that website, and reading through the lyrical stuff was just like, whoa. The textual elements of Jutite are like just as difficult to get through as the musical elements.
Yes. Indeed. Yeah, so that's easily the top hit. There was an album called Illudium, which was on many lists that I saw, both metal lists and non-metal lists, because in my opinion, this is actually like a grunge alternative act. The Ash of the Womb album. It's kind of like a emo-y, doomy, whatever, like these slower drawn out things where it's like kind of morose, but the vocals are like really interesting. There's a female fronted vocalist, and it's I don't know, it's got these really beautiful moments that hit nice. There was an album on Reality Fade, which is a kind of interesting record label that I also saw on no lists. It's called Abysmal Revelation by the band Interminable Corruptions. And
damn, great names.
This is like music that's like people might call it slam. It's like Defeated Sanity or Disgorge or Deeds of Flesh, this type of music. And there's not too much of this music around because it's very difficult to make, and it's difficult to get it to sound like the way that they have gotten it to sound on this record. And so I always take these up whenever I hear them.
What does slam mean?
It's like a genre name. I mean, it doesn't. It's honestly not doesn't really describe this album that well. But there are slam record labels. Most of the slam music is like really super simple.
Like heavy breakdown stuff, right? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, no, you're right. It's like slow grooves with like super pitched down vocals. And most of it's like very simple, just like dun 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 dun, you know, like this type of thing. Like a lot of that, and then, you know, blast beat back and forth between the slow grooves and that. But so the band Disgorge, actually, I think they are, I mean, they're the progenitors of the genre, although I don't think that they exemplify the genre. So like in the same way that Meshuggah like created gent, but they don't really play that music.
Right.
This band plays the music like Disgorge plays it, not slam.
Okay.
Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah. That makes sense. This is a crazy album cover. There's all these creatures.
Yeah, I couldn't remember the name of this band. Like I listened to the CD and I bought it and I couldn't remember the name of it. And I was like looking through my album and I was like, it's like the haunted house looking thing.
Yeah. with almost like some Doom-esque characters attacking
And I was like,
it.
oh yeah, interminable corruptions. Okay, look in the, yeah, okay.
Brutal.
Okay, yeah, Archspire. Can we talk about Archspire briefly? This is another. This one
Please.
was on many of the best of lists. So they made it.
Oh yeah, I saw this for sure.
So Archspire is perhaps the most ridiculous tech death band. That's like all about being a tech death band.
Yeah.
Like they always are like pushing themselves like further to go faster and harder, but like there's no vocalist that's quite as like rapid fire as the vocalist in Archspire. Really one of a kind. And on this album is like the fastest vocals I've ever heard in my life.
Like Busta Rhymes fast.
Like literally yes, but death metal. It's crazy. It's really super insane. It's worth listening to. If I had one critique to make of this band, I have that there's a
Not
little
fast
bit
enough.
they need to take it to the next level. No, there's too much like just like 1 and like 7 or 5 like like in terms of progressions, it's always like minor 1, major 5 or 7, whatever. And it's like all of their songs kind of fall into that, which gets a little boring after a while. But they're still like you just have to listen to this album.
What kind of style do they play? I haven't heard this.
So it's tech death is like technical death metal is like a term that people use to describe bands like that are specifically focused on the highly technical elements of death metal. So bands like Rings of Saturn or Archspire is honestly like the pristine example of tech death. I would go no further than this band as an example of the genre. Like bands that are often on like the label Unique Leader. I'm trying to think of who else.
Dude, by the way, I just shared their band photo from
We're looking at it,
We've been
too.
looking at the band photos.
hilarious, dude. It's like there's 2 Weird Al Yankovics and then the rest of them are just like
I have to say I love a lot of their, like this one in the middle here, they kind of look like NSYNC except wearing all black.
They're standing in front of like
dude.
a blue sky, all wearing black.
Yeah, I mean it's great. I love it.
Oh,
I want to be in this band.
I saw them play live once in Walnut Creek of all places. And
Wait, what?
Wow.
Where in
out.
Walnut Creek? At the Grange Hall?
no, there was a place called the Red Room or something that's like a music teaching studio.
That is beyond wild. That's got to be like the drum teacher like listens to this and like knows one of the roadies or something,
Or
right?
they have a family member there. Or
Yeah,
something.
it's got to be something along those lines.
I don't know. I can't explain it. It's the only show I ever saw that ever came through there. That
yeah, dude.
but man, you gotta like if you see them they come near you, you should go see them, because they are like such a trip to see play live, because the drummer in particular is out of this world, like tight, crazy good, super fast,
Yeah.
All the guitar, like it's kind of weird to see them play because it's all so flawless. It's like it's just very casual to them to play like all these like crazy tapping, super fast things, and like they are very comfortable doing that. So,
Awesome.
it's cool.
They look like wholesome cats for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have one. There's a couple of releases on my list that are not metal that I have to mention. One is the Loma Music.
Yeah, we've been listening to that at home. Casey is into that. It's good. It's very good.
Yeah, so this came out technically 2020. So it was released in October of 2020. But I have listened to this probably more than any other record all year. Like, it's like it's super chill, very like emotive. The songs sound like they were written as a band because they have a kind of jammy element to them. So it does. It's got a a little like expansive like bed where they can kind of stretch out their legs a little bit in a lot of these songs, but and they're also featuring like all these crazy musicians, the least of which is Brian Eno, of course.
Yeah.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Additional synths and drum programming. In addition.
Huh. Like
Yeah.
he wasn't a big enough name to get actual listing on the credits. It's like, no, it's additional.
Yeah.
We let him on a track or two.
How do you think Brian Eno programs drums? Like, does he use hardware? Does he use the pencil tool? Like, how do you think he's doing it?
That's actually a good question.
Does he use trackers?
Tool.
I mean, look, my real answer is knowing nothing about him. Maybe he's like a Hans Zimmer type, and he has a bunch of grad students. I mean, no, I don't know.
And he hands them all a deck of oblique strategies.
It's mental programming, esoteric programming.
Oh man, actually, that's on my top 10 list for the last year. Meow Wolf Las Vegas. Went and checked that out. Care of friend of the show, Wake. Check that out. And Brian Eno did one of the rooms. What the sound for one of the rooms there. And
really?
Wow.
I recommend it. I recommend the experience of the whole thing.
And you went in Denver or Vegas?
In Vegas.
In Vegas.
And I highly recommend. I did not do this because I didn't plan ahead. I highly recommend go take a big old dose of magic mushrooms before you go in. And like this is like, aside from the number of people, this is like the place you would want to be. It would be a fan. I highly recommend taking some psychedelics and going to this place. It's really really cool. It's intentionally trippy. It's intentionally a very cool experience and great art throughout.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, how much more stuff do we have to talk about? Are we Are we good? I mean, did we just finish it? Are we done?
No, I mean we can.
We could be done. I do have like a couple of other albums I just want to throw out.
Okay,
there,
what about looking forward? We need to talk about, what are you looking forward to? Either musical projects you're working on or like albums are coming out. You do that.
I can't do that with albums, but I can do that with books.
Yeah. Okay. Can we just mute Devin's mic this entire podcast?
Honestly, yeah.
No. Before we do that, I mean, honestly, I did talk about this earlier for one of our recommends, but one of my favorites that I did actually dive into, and this comes up all over the place. It's out there. People are listening to it, But Idiom by Anna Weber. I really love this record, and it's of course it's right up my alley. It has a lot of the beautiful players on it, including Mr. John Hollenbeck, who's like an idol of mine. A huge, someone I've always looked up to for years and years and years.
Where are these people from, Mark?
She, I believe, was up at McGill studying with John Hollenbeck composition, and then now she's based out of New York. So this is a blend of post jazz and modern classical techniques, and a lot of really, really high level improvisation. Fantastic. It's cool too because you can look at the scores. She has those available on the Pi Recordings website, as I had mentioned before. So I just wanted to give another shout to that. And then also
that one made some lists. I saw.
Yeah, it made some noise. And then I do want to give I do want to say our friends Myrna, they put out a track this year called Bells, which it's I really enjoyed listening to, having known Carly and Rob for so long, and Carly's voice is just like Geneva Harrison actually was the one who was just like, you got to check out the new Myrna track, and I did.
I haven't heard this.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and Carly's voice is just it's stunning, man. It's really they're doing something. It's very cool. So I just want to give those two things a quick shout. But like I said earlier, the interesting thing that has happened with me with this particular podcast is I am having those moments that I described earlier from radio listening where I get stuck on a track, but this is happening from the recommendations, and I'm on the Steve Lehman record that we talked about with Rob Ewing, as well as being on that Senegalese record, whose name I still cannot say properly. So I'm such a slow ingester of media that it's really difficult for me to put out a slam bam list of bests of. But maybe this is something that I can set a goal for next year. But
so
anyway.
Wait, hold on. Where is that single of Myrna's? I can't find it.
I would guess Splatafly. Hang on.
Oh.
Well, while we're waiting on Mark's Myrna exploration, I was just thinking about this. I was like, I should have looked into this before coming here and doing this. I wonder if I looked through my iTunes and my my quantified life. I do most of my listening through iTunes through one way or another. It keeps track of how many times I've played something, right? So I'm wondering how much of this stuff would actually show up on my iTunes, the things that I think are the best. Are these also my most played, or are they not? I'm kind of curious about that. And maybe I just heard something once and it really stuck with me.
I mean, dude, for me, iTunes is very much a demo version. So like I'm scared that my most played would be like, track 7, 821 bounce.
Of course. Well, yeah. Those ones aside. Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. I've been doing a lot more of the iTunes. We should talk about it later probably, but bouncing things from BandCamp to iTunes and keeping the titles and all that stuff.
I have a trick to that, actually.
Thank you. Can you explain it to all of us, please? Because it's killing me.
It took me a while to figure this out. But what you have to do is go through it. So I have the problem with BandCamp where it says they have if you use iTunes on your phone, to check out music, for me, the best way to sort is by artist.
Yeah.
So, if you have music from BandCamp, what you want to do is go into and remove all of the fields that have album artist. So select everything and just delete that field entirely, because the artist field will still be there. And just delete album artist, because it,
That's
for
right.
some
Album
reason,
by artist or something like that. Yeah.
like
yeah,
it
it's
fucks
awkward.
up. Obviously, if you have compilations, this gets extra complicated, because then you have to make a choice of what you're going to do with that. But it like simply doesn't show up. Like I'll have things that simply don't show up in the list by artist on iTunes unless I do that. Like it's invisible.
But that
unless
is a useful field, because think about it. Like how many, is that way it keeps you can say that that all the albums by Boingo are also collected under Oingo Boingo, which is where they should be.
Yeah, no, I'm not. It is a useful field. The problem is for sure with iTunes and not with that field. Like iTunes is the problem. Let's be clear.
Okay. Yes. Agreed.
Yeah.
I've yelled at the chat about iTunes many times, but all right.
I do want to return briefly to the idea of best versus sort of like most listened to, or I guess best versus favorite, maybe. There was an album that came out in, I believe, 2019, but I'm considering that contiguous with 2021 because that's it's my experience of it. A band called Beach Bunny. They're from the Chicago area. They came out with an album called Honeymoon. It is a pop punk album. It is all killer, no filler, front to back. I think the entire it's not long. It's maybe like between 30 and 40 minutes, something like that. There's maybe 8 bars total out of the whole album that could be cut. And those are like maybe, like only maybe cut those.
Hell yeah! Now that's a good way of thinking about things. What's the most consistent, or what's just the most like cover to cover, all killer, no filler,
Yeah.
all bangers, no mash.
That,
I like the mash.
but yeah, that it's a pop punk. It's
Too many hot dogs, not enough buns.
Anyway, give it a spin. It's great. You'll love it. Every song is about being sad. It's good.
The color scheme on their Bandcamp page is absolutely killing too.
Oh yeah, their graphic design is like right in there.
Oh my gosh, Joker colors, beautiful.
My most listened to is probably not. I think she did come out with an album this year, but mostly from previous years, who I discovered this year. So it feels like a new artist to me, is Caitlin Aurelia Smith.
Oh yeah.
I just love listening to her music, and I'll just have it on it when I'm practicing, when I'm doing anything. It's just great. And so maybe she'll come out with something new in 2022. I would look forward to that.
I saw her play. This is pre-pandemic. I saw her play. What's that venue down on like
Swedish American Hall.
That's the one.
Yeah, we went to that.
Oh, we were there. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, nice.
and it was great. It was a great show.
What's the name again? Amy?
Caitlin Aurelia Smith.
Okay.
She makes really nice music.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah,
Very-
it's like
Is that
hard.
with a C?
Okay.
K, yeah. It's like hardcore modular stuff. She's actually been. This is something that I find
I see.
really cool. She's been doing a lot of work with Suzanne Ciani, who is like a modular artist from the late 70s. And it's this like intergenerational thing, and the tracks they do together are super cool.
Very Mills College. I don't know if they're actually from Mills College, but like they should be.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense. Culturally,
Rip-
of that
Rip
kind of vibe.
Mills College.
But the Ableton, the software company, they do a conference every year called Ableton Loop. I don't know if this is happening since pandemic. So it's usually in Berlin, but I went to their one in Los Angeles in, I want to say, 2018, 2017, something like that. And you get to go to all these like different lectures and things and different performances. I went to a Caitlin Aurelia Smith studio session. And
cool.
you know, I was I like her work. She had us do meditation and writing our hopes and dreams in a notebook. I failed the class, or at least that's how I feel like I did.
no.
It was not. Maybe you need to have a more open mind than I do. I was there for studio sessions. I wasn't there for. I didn't go into it with the right attitude.
Yeah. This is kind of a tangent, but okay, so I went to the Grace Hopper conference for the first time this year. And it's a conference of women in technology. And I was expecting to come in and go to all these sessions with these badass technical women teaching me all sorts of new cool technical things.
Mhm.
And almost all the sessions were just about like being a woman in tech and seeing these examples of women who had done these amazing things, and talks about like how to deal with imposter syndrome and everything. And it felt so mushy. But then once I felt like I gave into it, I was like, all right, this is what the conference is going to be about. I feel like I gained so much from it.
That's a good.
And so
attitude to
I
have,
wonder
yeah.
if, I wonder if she was just doing something too different, that it was like really hard to switch your brain.
That's a good. Yeah. I think it was just like when you have set expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, total tangent.
Well, shall we do the looking forwards and the cheers?
Can I do like a couple albums, couple really important albums?
Oh
I
yeah,
feel like.
totally, man. Of course.
Just a few more. Okay. God, there's so many great ones. Okay. The album Checkin' Up on Buds by Petey.
Oh, did I recorded a cover of Checking Up on Butts. Did I send that to you?
No, but please do.
That song is legit.
I love the song, the same chords, or the song what? Because
all my favorite songs have the same chords.
Yeah. For me, this 4-song album is like quite a piece of work. Like in terms of pop, I think just judging by the way the music is written, that this person is a drummer.
Okay.
That perhaps also seconds on guitar and synths and stuff. But it's got this kind of like yelping vocal thing that he does, but it like the lyrics are so good and the melodies are so good that like you just it's easy to get sucked into it. And he's got a really like the music video for Don't Tell the Boys is really really pulls you in, I feel like.
I
Like
think
if you had any second thoughts about PD, you should just check out that music video.
we listened to a live concert of theirs in like a garage.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, and it was great. If we can find that recording, it'd be fun to put it in like the show notes. So it was really good.
Where did you listen to that?
Honestly, I don't remember where. It was like after you sent that album over, we listened to it, and I was like, "What is this?" And we Googled around and found this live video, and it was like, literally just like him in a garage.
Yeah, it was good though.
And it ruled.
Yeah.
Oh, Petey's great. Check out Petey. This would be a nice pivot point to Petey whiskey.
Well, before that, oh wait, you have it right there.
Ooh, this podcast is brought to you by Petey Whiskey.
Islay.
I picked up.
It's an Islay.
It's like I picked up Corey Reckon by Ardberg, and it's because I heard that it was insane, and it's insane.
That's
in terms
that,
of
that black metal band, right?
Yeah. That actually would be hilarious, like a peaty whiskey themed black metal band.
My favorite thing about peaty whiskey is that the notes that I get from it is like when you put D batteries on your tongue.
Why would you do that?
Because I mean, hasn't everyone done that?
I think you mean 12-volt batteries.
Not nines.
The square ones that you put in
nines. Those
stump
are
boxes.
nines.
Okay, yeah, nines.
Yeah, nines. Right, yes. Delicious stuff.
Well, this is probably the best podcast I think anyone's ever recorded.
I think we're just kind of rambling a lot right now, but there was one more artist that I wanted to put out there just really quickly, which is Cassandra Jenkins, and her album An Overview on Phenomenal Nature is a really special album. And I wanted to mention that when she wrote it after a friend of hers who she was about to go on tour with died unexpectedly. And I think she went into the studio and recorded that album in the course of something like a week. And it's really beautiful. It's kind of like if you can imagine a noir scene in New York with like fog and saxophone. That's like the entire vibe of the album. And every song is just poetry. There's these stories with characters throughout the entire album. And it's just really...
Michael Coleman's on this.
Nice.
Really special. And there's also a great live video that she's done in her home with someone playing saxophone and I think bass clarinet.
Yeah, it's either bass clarinet or like a really low, like unusual saxophone, and also
someone on
doubling on
bass.
piano.
Yeah, and piano.
Yeah, it's. I mean, these are like clearly people who've done this for years.
Yeah, and there's just something really like unique and in my head, sort of grown up about it for someone who just went in and put it together in the course of a week after kind of a traumatic event in her life. So, highly recommend that one too.
Wow.
Yeah,
Cool.
good call.
I do have two more that I can't let us go before I mention.
All right, let's.
The Deberengiren. Lord help me pronounce this. Deberengiren.
Sounds about right.
The album is Less is Endless. The album cover looks dope. They're like jazz-ish, like a jazz piano trio kind of, playing like really unique compositions. It's almost like some of it's almost reminiscent of like what's the Dawn of MIDI band, where it's like really unique tones, like they're using effects and stuff, where it's like it's coming from like a place of jazz, but like the music extends far beyond that, and it's one of the most interesting albums I've heard in a long time. Definitely check it out. And the other one that I just have to mention would be
This looks right up my alley, by the way. This looks very far up my
have you
alley.
not listened to this?
No.
Oh, you gotta listen to it.
Okay.
You have to listen to it.
I'm going to.
Okay, and this one we've mentioned on the pod before, but Gabriel Garzon Montano Awita is like one of the most solid albums.
Yeah.
You sent me one of those. This was maybe like half a year, 3/4 of a year ago, and it was like totally out of my arena of listening ordinarily, but it was just like so good.
Yeah, this whole album is such a great album. This is another one that came out late 2020, but who cares?
It's another one that just didn't make the cut for me. But it reminds me of what the album Amy was just talking about. this Toronto saxophonist and composer, Joseph Chabason. This was an album that came out late 2020 or at least that's when I discovered it. I discovered it late 2020. His mother had died, and
The Fellowship you're talking about?
not of the Ring. It's an album called Anne, and Anne was his mother's name. And basically, he created an album out of recordings of his mother. So as she was getting older, and I think she had Parkinson's, he had a number of conversations that he recorded with her, and he then used those as basically either inspiration or librettos for this album. And I highly recommend it. It's heavy. It's heavy, but the music is lovely. It's a lovely experience. I highly recommend it. Joseph Chabason.
Yeah, I have his 2021 album, The Fellowship, in my wish list, but I haven't listened to Anne at all. So, I will. There's actually 2 albums called Anne on here. Are you talking about the EP or the full length one?
I am not aware of the EP. I'm looking at this all right now. The one that I own came out in apparently 2018, and it's a full length.
Best of 2020.
I mean,
Well, okay. Following up on that, there was an album that was recorded in the mid 80s, but recently put. it wasn't put onto streaming until 2019. But I'm gonna call it out. It's by a band called Zenit, and the name of the album is Straight Ahead, and it's an album that I always suspected existed, but hadn't been able to quite find yet. In that almost the entire thing is produced on like Roland General MIDI box. It's an SC series, obviously of some sort. There was a couple of different iterations of the SC, but when you so I have an SC and I use it for production. And when you use it for production, you think, gee, this is good enough to use in an album. I wonder if anyone's ever made a whole album on this. And I always suspected this was out there somewhere, but I hadn't actually found it until this album. And as far as I can tell, this is not a particularly well-known group. I don't think they really, gained any name recognition or anything like that. But it's a keyboardist who is doing all the MIDI stuff, and a bassist, a drummer, and a vocalist. And they're all clearly, jazz shredders. But the whole thing is that, like, perfect middle ground between, like, it sounds like a general MIDI, but it's like real human beings playing everything, and it's just amazing. It's what I've always wanted.
It's everything I've always wanted. Where do you find this?
It's up on streaming stuff, so it's up on YouTube Music, copyright. Okay. If you just search for Zenit, Zennit.
Yeah. It's on our document. It's at the last thing on the.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Got it. Speaking of like older catalogs coming to Bandcamp, Radiohead just put their full catalog on Bandcamp. Do you guys think that's okay, or should they be sent to jail?
Jail, 100%.
Did anyone listen to the ABBA comeback album?
No.
I heard the singles.
Is it
that's
called
it.
Bab?
Yeah, they did a 2-disc. They did a double LP ABBA comeback album. It's something like 40 years after the last one. Or I don't know how long has been since their
40
last
years.
one. I mean, I don't know. I made that number up. But maybe. Anyway, point is, the only reason I remembered it is because while we were doing this, I briefly looked up, Billboard charts, and that was number 100 of the 100 top. So, big ups, ABBA.
They're okay. So they're going on tour, but they're going on tour with holograms of themselves.
Wait, like, are they doing duets with themselves?
No, they're sending their holograms on tour.
Wait, so they are still alive,
Yes,
and they're not going on tour.
correct. Their holograms are going on tour.
Dude,
Wow.
This is very
I'm
like if we
sending
could
an
send
image
our
to,
holograms to go see them.
yes,
Amy has it. Oh man, yes.
that'd be the move,
Yes.
right?
Oh, that's brilliant.
All right.
That's what I call a band photo right there.
Did you get it?
Did I get what?
I thought you were taking a picture.
There was a photo
Yo.
sound.
Hey, Richard,
Oh,
can
yeah.
you get it? Can you get in the screen? I want to
yeah.
get a little picture.
Okay, yeah. Just a sec.
Okay,
Here,
Stan.
make sure your face is in
Oh,
the. Yeah, you're just a black thing. Move flipping.
Well, at least, whatever. It's all good. It's all good. I can at least tag you.
There we go.
Oh wait. That was good.
Yeah. No, you're in there. You're in.
Lean back. All right, cool. Perfect. Cool. All right, y'all. Well, I'm excited to go listen to everything now,
Me too.
as always. As I always am, leaving these types of episodes. This is a hybrid of the best of and a BandCamp and Beyond recommends.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Next year we'll do a worst of.
Okay. Sweet. Well, I don't know. What do y'all anything else? Anything that you want to talk about that's coming up? Anything that you're stoked about? What's going on? Otherwise, I feel like we've recommended a lot of beautiful music that happened recently.
I just sent my new EP to finalizing. That's the new term for mastering. So just sent that out to finalizing today. So I'm excited for that. I haven't figured out the release date, but that'll be coming next month.
Okay.
Awesome.
When did they change the term?
It's one of those things just to be conscious about.
Okay.
It's a
got
better
it.
term. It's a better term.
I think so.
You're
That makes
finalizing
sense.
it. Yeah, that's the final step.
That makes perfect sense now that I think about it. Okay. Oh yeah, there you have it right there on Twitter. I do believe I'm going to be doing a similar thing for a couple of my tracks, and I'm hoping to have an LP out in March next year. So hopefully that'll be on one or two of your own best ofs, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. That'll be for the Dirty Snacks Ensemble. I think it'll be cool.
When's that Miracle Cat album coming out?
Chia.
The idea is to have it completed by the end of this month. I am close. I need to finish it, and then let me be a little more specific. The charts are all done. It's just sort of finishing specific parts, and I've been reaching out to various external musicians who can do things that I cannot do. And
Musicians external to you.
yes, I'm hoping to have it done by the end of January, and then after that, I'm gonna be shopping around for record labels and that kind of stuff. But in terms of
Cool.
looking forward, I do want to call out in April. There's a book coming out called "When an Egyptian Cannot Speak English" by Noor Naga. That is very good. I just finished the advanced reader's copy, and
Ooh, advanced.
advanced. Yes, I'm an advanced reader. It's great. Check it out. But that's
Fiction, nonfiction?
Let's call it autofiction.
Uh,
Somewhere in between the two.
that's like based on reality, but not. Just define that term for me. It's like
Yeah, it's wiggly. Essentially, it's when an author is writing a work that uses themselves in some capacity. In this case, the author appears in the book as both a narrator and kind of a character, but it's ambiguous as to exactly how much of what the author is talking about is fictional and how much is factual.
Okay. Look, let's get real here. As artists, we do that all the time anyway. That's like, you know what I mean? You know, you write a song and it's like, yeah, it's about everyone you know, but then you have to tell your partner, no, that's not about you. Yeah, it's about you. You know what I mean? That's we're already doing that all the time anyway.
That's fair. You should pitch that to LARB.
I think I will write a letter. I will have to write a letter.
Yeah, do it.
right on. Right away.
Well, right on, y'all. Bob, what's good with the Onkos?
Yeah, you should mention that the fearless leader of I Voidhanger Records, Luciano, has fallen ill with COVID. This is based on posts that I've read on Facebook. I think he's been in the ICU for like a good 15 days or longer. And but the last update was that he was doing a little bit better, but he has a long road to recovery. So, you know, I hope he gets better soon. I think what he does for the underground black metal community is invaluable, and he's a driving force. You know, I Voidhanger wouldn't exist without Luciano, so it's, you know, it's, I hope that he's okay, because he's honestly, aside from his contributions to the community, he's such a nice person, and I've never met him or talked to him, but like just as a pen pal, he's like he's so gracious and a great person. So I really hope the best for him.
Yeah, I mean,
I know he's a dad too. So
yeah, I was distressed when you sent me that news.
Yeah,
to say the least, man. It's a huge bummer.
It is stressing. So like in terms of Onkos, that's obviously going to be on hold. Things with the label are just on hold.
Yeah.
And getting pushed back. Things were already getting pushed back because of vinyl delays, I believe. Like most vinyl pressing plants are having sourcing issues, getting materials. So with the pandemic, hurting the shipping worldwide. So
right on.
Yeah.
Amy, anything that you're looking forward to?
Me?
Yes.
The biggest thing I'm looking forward to is a bit of a tangent from music things, but Devin
That's
and I
all
are
good.
gonna be running a half Ironman in May.
Oh, what?
Running, biking, and swimming a half Ironman in May. So
Yeah.
very excited
That's
about
amazing. Yes. Very cool.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Good luck.
that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, everyone, you can find us on the grams at FT4HB and Twitter on @tones_FOR. Richard, where can they find you? At Panic Bomber on Twitter.
Yeah, richardhaig.com, Haig. That's Richard, Haig. Haig.
Okay.
That has links to everything.
Cool.
Yeah.
And Devin, if you so wish to be found, where would that be?
Yeah. I'll do the same thing. I'm at devinsmith.work. DEVINSMITH.work.
All right. And how about you, Amy?
If you're curious about what I do professionally, you can go to amy-smith.net.
All right.
Wow.
Cool. And you
I
can
don't think I've ever.
you can find
It's
us
a website I've never been to.
on Patreon. Just at Fantastic Tones for Human Bones if you wish to contribute and support us in our endeavors here, doing deep dives with humans who are making things for other humans and talking to people and helping you discover the best music there is.
Wow.
The best to you from Kmart Radio.
Oh, man. So, Devin, we talked about the Kmart tapes for your episode, right?
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
that's something that I've been listening to a lot this year. I mean, obviously that was made many, many years ago, but that's one of those things that I got stuck on as a result of doing this podcast. Is I listen to that all the time.
It's so
That's
good.
actually that's like gym music for me.
We put it on in the store sometimes. Like
Yes. Yes. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening as always. And yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thank you all for joining us, Richard, Devin, and Amy.
Happy New Year.
Yep.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Nothing was saving our day. There was nothing to say, but you said something anyway, claiming I stepped out of line, forced you to leave me as if that idea sacrifice was made, trying to save yourself. Oh, you stupid thing. Speaking of course as you did, departed. Oh, you stupid thing. It wasn't me that you outsmarted. Oh, you stupid thing. Stopping it all before it even started. That's just how I am. To fall where I stand, or I'm weak for that kind of man. One who looks helpless and brave. But you turned into a coward. I don't care for the parts you saved. You stupid thing. As you did, departed. You stupid thing. It wasn't me that you outsmarted. You stupid thing. Speaking of course as you did, departed. You stupid thing. It wasn't me that you outsmarted.